Welcome back to the Reviving Christian Families podcast. I'm so excited to talk with you guys today about the essential aspects of having fun and doing recreational activities with your family. So let's dive into this episode. Hey, spouses, I know what it's like to be frazzled, overwhelmed, and stressed while managing all the tasks, balancing work schedules, raising children, and trying to grow closer to each other and the Lord. All the trauma and the shame cycles you can't seem to break out of are just the cherry on top, right? You know that you want to make a change, that you need something to be different, and you crave a happier, healthier lifestyle, but you don't know where to start, how to get there, and you just feel stuck. That's why I'm here, showing up every week with these podcast episodes to give you the knowledge and momentum you need to get unstuck and begin healing the generational trauma in your family. Let's take off those trauma patterns and the lies of the enemy and put on the armor and strength of the Lord. We are building a better future for the next generation and every generation to come. And the healing for the next generations begins with us. So, wives, grab your husband, and husbands, grab your wife a snack, and let's dive in and do the work. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about how recreation for families is essential to mental health, essential to your bonding as a family, and also just your overall quality of life. And so let's first talk about this mental health piece and what I mean by it's essential to your mental health. So when you're just constantly go, 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 work, 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 this will look different for you, whether you're at home with your kids, homeschooling, whether they're in public school, private school, if they're younger, older, if they're doing extracurriculars, if both of you work, if just one of you works, if you both work from home. So there's a lot of different ways that that can look for you. But I just want you to imagine your own family right now, kind of like what your schedule's like, and all the things that you take your children to, the things they're doing with you as a family. And so for everyone in the family, and not just your kids, like this affects you guys too, but in this piece we're kind of focusing more on the kids because we're going to get to the adult one-on-one time later. But mental health is affected, and in the sense of like, do your kids think life is fun, right? And so there's kind of this pressure sometimes to make life magical for kids, and sometimes we can go a little bit overboard and stress ourselves out. And I'm not trying to push you that way. If you're like in a spot where maybe you're a little more like me and you struggle to get out of the house sometimes because you just feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do, and then when I'm not doing something, I just want to sit down and relax, and if I go out, then I'm missing time to do X, Y, or Z. And so I know I do this all the time, and I can get in my head about it. And then the days that I actually just walk the kids down to the park, I mean, we all have a great time. And so I just want us all to kind of stop overthinking this so much and really plan at least, a couple times a month where we can take the kids out and do something so that they kind of start to understand that life isn't supposed to be just all work. And yeah, we can play at the house, but being able to go out with the kids, do fun things, especially if you can do it as a family, like all of you together, mom, dad, kids. Because while I think it's great if like you're a stay-at-home or work from home mom or dad and you're able to go out with your kids one-on-one, and I think that's so valuable, but I think there's also something very important about being able to go out as a whole family and do something fun, at least once a month. And that could look like just going to the park, right? It doesn't need to cost a lot of money by any means, but something to and bond the family together in a way that says, we are family, we do things together, we have fun together, we don't just work together. Like, it's not just work, 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 no play. And I also think it's good for the kids to be able to see the world with you, to have fun and explore with their parents, because kids feel a deeper sense of safety when they're with their parents, and they there's all these teaching opportunities for them, right? So many things that you can show them, point out, even just showing them God in different aspects of life. For example, something fun I really like to do with my daughter. She's only 2, but she still grasps things very well. And she's very smart. And sometimes when not so much anymore because at this point it's just like dark. But when she wakes up in some of the, you know, summery type of months, I guess, and around the time she's waking up, we see that the sunrise. And so sometimes I'll open her curtain in the morning when I wake her up, and I'll be like, oh, look at that sunset. I mean, sunrise, sorry guys. We do this with the sunset too sometimes, but usually by that time we're going to bed, so. But I'll see the sunrise and I'll be like, isn't it so gorgeous? I'm so grateful for how God painted the sky this morning. And then sometimes I'll tell her he painted it just for us because he knew we were going to see it. And I mean, I can't be for sure how much of that she's grasping, but I'm starting to plant those little seeds in her mind and show her that there's good things to be seen all around. And I think this can be hard if we haven't trained our own minds. So if you're in that spot where you're like, I don't even see the fun stuff all around, then you might need to start working on that in yourself so that you can start showing your children that. But it's such a fun process, and you don't have to have it all figured out before you start teaching your kids. Just, you figure out one step, then you teach them that step while you're figuring out the next step. And so just start somewhere, even if it's just stealing my idea of the sunrise or the sunset, or you know talking about trees, just looking all around and seeing God's magnificence. And so as they get older, you can teach them more advanced stuff than just looking at the sun or a piece of nature and saying how beautiful it is. But that is such a great place to start, no matter what age your kids are. So, and then that was kind of my next point. It's just this whole thing doesn't need to be overwhelming. You can start small. So, if it is just going to the park for you, that's great. Maybe you find the park extremely overwhelming. You need your kids in a, enclosed space. Then look for places near you, like a library, or I know, like, within maybe an hour to an hour and a half of me, there's like two or three different enclosed places that we can take kids, that like one of them's similar to a library, but they have a lot of toys and stuff. And there's another one that's kind of like an indoor tree house, and like there's some of them where it has like seats for the parents to sit and read or work, and the kids can just play around you. And so look for that type of stuff near you and see if there's something where maybe you don't have that, but you can just partner up with a friend and you guys can switch going to each other's houses and like watch the kids in the playroom together or something like that. um or even just being in a yard, like outside, is great if it's good weather where you can do that. And then even in the winter, I still encourage you to take your kids outside, although I know it can be hard because it's cold. But even just small increments, a lot of the times I feel like the kids don't care about the cold as much as we do, but it's so good for them. So start small, pick your thing, and then maybe down the road it can be this wonderful, beautiful thing where you're taking your kids to museums and in fun trips. But it doesn't need to start off looking like that, and maybe you don't ever want it to look like that. I mean, there's no cookie cutter size for how this has to look for your family. And so just really talk with your spouse, talk together about how you guys want to tackle this. What is realistic for you, and what do you think you can stick to? And so that's a really great starting step there. And then what we're going to talk about now is kind of along lines, but for you guys specifically as spouses. And we're talking more like date night, I guess you could say. Not that it does necessarily needs to be like what you would consider a date night, but recreational time with just you and your spouse. For me, I call pretty much anything that I do alone with my spouse a date night. So for me, that's just what I call it, but that might not be like your definition of a date night. But anytime you can get away from the kids to have time between just you guys, and you might have time depending on what your guys' schedules look like before the kids get up or after the kids go to bed. But sometimes those moments of the day can be chaotic because we're trying to get things done, or we're trying to get ready for bed, or we're just waking up and we're kind of grouchy, so we need to get our coffee before we even talk to anyone. And so they're not exactly quality bonding times. And like for us, we have nap time still. Our kids we got them on the same nap time schedule. They typically nap at the same time every day, and that's been such a blessing because on the weekends we're able to have that time together, but sometimes we also need time to ourselves, so it doesn't always end up even being quality time together. So we've become very intentional about taking at least one day a month to get a babysitter and go out by ourselves. And so lately what we've been doing is just going to the pizza place and sitting in there, and we get like pizza, or they also have ice cream, so sometimes we get that. Not now because it's winter and they apparently can't get ice cream in winter. That's so sad for me, but I digress. Anyway, so we really struggled to date in the beginning of our marriage because obviously our kids were really young, and it was hard to find babysitters, and I was not the most trusting mom in the world. I was kind of hesitant to leave my kids with anyone. And so yeah, we struggled to like ever get alone time that was anything of quality. And especially, when my husband went through his injuries, because he wasn't really doing quality time with anyone. He was just work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep because the pain was so bad. And so we like slowly started to try to implement it, and it was a struggle. And I feel like we just now have started to actually get babysitters and actually take intentional date nights on a regular basis, whereas before it was just like, oh, if the opportunity arose where we had to get a babysitter to go somewhere, then, maybe then we would count that as a date night. So, thank goodness we're not doing that anymore. And so I don't know where you're at in regards to if you are doing date nights, or if they're kind of sporadic like ours were, and they're not really intentional, they just come up when they come up, or if you were like, nope, I've been on this, Micaiah, and I'm not worried about this part. And if that's you, that's great. But I just want to make sure I touched on this because, like I said, it is a huge part of how our brain perceives our life as a whole. And so if we're not doing things that we consider fun, and if we're not having quality time and conversations, our brains can easily get into the rut of thinking that life is all work and it's all miserable, and we aren't gonna like that. And so obviously with this, there's two sides to everything, and you can go the other side too, where you're not working enough. And I feel like in terms to like our house, we've been in that spot too, where like I struggled to work in the house. I struggled to keep up on things, and it was constantly just either being consumed with the kids or like building. Like I had a photography business before this, and I spent a lot of time building that. But being on the electronics, doing whatever I was doing, once I was in that mode, it was hard to switch that off and go back to the house because it was like two different things. And so it formed this technology addiction. And then then I would feel guilty and be like, oh, I need to spend time with the kids. So then I would spend time with the kids and then I would ignore the house. And so I've just, oh, I guess not just started, but I've been slowly learning how to start to balance that out over time. Um, and it was really gradual for me, but through investing in a course and also just some of my own research that I had been doing um, for months, really preparing for our move to the new house, I had really figured out how I wanted to set the house up and how I wanted things to run and operate so that when we moved, it was kind of like a fresh start for us. I had a lot more momentum and I was very motivated to get things into place and systems set up. And so now that we're kind of in the middle, I'd say, where, or even maybe more towards needing more date nights, but what I'm saying, and that balance of work and play in life, um, we've kind of been all over. There's times we've worked too much, and there's times that we've worked not enough. There's times, where we've been unintentional about what our quote unquote play looked like, and times that we're very intentional about it. And so, I'll just there's two last things I want to say about this, and that's when I say intentional play or intentional recreational time, and this goes for whether it's date nights, just you and your spouse, or as a whole family. I think that sometimes we can get sucked into doing the same things over and over again, and a lot of times, in this technology driven world, we can be tempted to just keep going to the TV or going out. Maybe you go out for movies or something, and so it can be really tempting to do that. Or maybe for you it's food and you're just constantly tempted to for all of your recreational to be food related. And so noticing those patterns in your own life and noticing what actually fills our bucket. And so maybe you just really like food or you really like going out to eat, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that really, but I think that you need to maybe try switching it up every once in a while and trying different kinds of recreational activity so you can know if you like them or not. If they really truly filled up your bucket or if you kind of just felt more exhausted afterwards. And so kind of, taste testing, I guess. Taste testing different recreational activities and really evaluating, did this actually feel fun? Did I enjoy it? Did it leave me refreshed or did it leave me more overwhelmed, more stressed out, more exhausted? And so that's a really good thing to evaluate in your life. And also, I wanted to throw this tip in here. This is going to be my last point, guys. So this episode might be slightly shorter, but I tried something really fun a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to throw it in here for you guys because anyone can do this, and I found it extremely beneficial and it was so fun. So I am not a huge AI fan, I will say that, but I'm not anti AI either. So I we were coming up to this time when my husband had put PTO in at the end of one week and the beginning of another. So we were essentially going to have a long weekend with him home. And we were super excited. And so it was before the holidays. So we knew there was some stuff we needed to get done in preparation for the holidays. But we also wanted to have quality time together and have time to relax. And so I was trying to think up what I could plan ahead of time to make sure that this time was intentional and it was fun and it kind of checked all our boxes. And so I don't know why, but I was just hey, let me turn to ChatGPT. And it ended up being a great idea. So here's what I did, and you can take this and tweak it to fit you. But I went into ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, here's the thing. I have this amount of days with my husband that where he is off work, he's gonna be home. And I can't remember if I gave him the dates or just the days of the week. I think it was just the days of the week. But I was like, it's gonna be this day, this day, this day. Okay. And then I told him, I was like, and we already have this planned on this day, this planned on this day, this planned on this day, and we might squeeze this thing in somewhere on one of those days. And so I kind of give him like this outlook of what my schedule looked like. And then I kind of went a little deeper and I was like, well, at this time every day, the kids take their nap. And at this time, we do this. And, and so I was kind of giving him like what my day looked like in a structure of like morning, AM, PM, evening. And so, like, giving him that outlook. So, however you want to do that, I don't know how you structure your days. I use the time blocking method from Chelsea Joe. So, in case anyone's curious, and I also took the Simple Rhythms for Busy Moms course, so I have some of that sprinkled into like how I structure my days, but in terms of like my actual structure of how I'd write it into a planner or a calendar, I got that from Chelsea Joe. So, um, yeah. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So I gave him my schedule, and then I was like, pretty much told him what I wanted to get out of the weekend. So I was like, hey, ChatGPT, during this weekend, we need to get, have these house projects done. And I was pretty much, I think I didn't like name off the house projects. I think I was just like, I have a to-do list of house projects we need to get done. But I also want to make sure we're spending quality time together and kind of make it like a stay-at-home marriage retreat where we can bond, do things together, but also have quality time with the kids and build connections with them. And also, we need to do X, Y, or Z. I can't remember everything I told him. But anyways, I had all these goals I had figured out that I wanted to accomplish in the weekend, and I was pretty much like, but I don't want it to be too overwhelming. Like, I don't want our calendar to be packed. So I want to get in what we can get in and, kind of prioritize it. So that's from most important to least important so that, if things don't get done, it's not a big deal. And so I kind of like gave him the structure. And then the final thing that I told him was, okay, ChatGPT, my husband does not like to sit still for long extended periods of time. So, like, one of the things I had told him was I really wanted us to be able to spend time with God together or, pray together or read our Bibles together, something of that nature that would be faith based. But I didn't want my husband to get frustrated because if we like sat down to do a 2 hour Bible study, that would drive him crazy. He's not wired that way. He doesn't like to just sit still and do, a study for 2 hours. It like that will overwhelm him. He needs to get up and move around, and he likes to use his hands. And so I pretty much told everything I just told you to ChatGPT, and kind of told him a couple other of my husband's like likes or dislikes in terms to different things that I told ChatGPT we needed to get done. And then I was like, can you create a schedule for me for the weekend? So I pretty much said all of that in one little text box, but you don't have to say it all in one text box. Anyway, so ChatGPT put together a schedule for me. I think I might have had him like, I think I maybe did this over like a few different ones because I think that maybe I left some of the information out and then I had to go back and tell him more, but it all ended up working out and he gave me this whole schedule and there was cute little things in there. And then I wanted to go further, so I like asked him. I was like, "Okay, ChatGPT, what kind of things can I add in that are simple and relatively quick that will make this feel more like a staycation, marriage retreat type thing?" So then he gave me even more ideas of sweet things that we could incorporate that would be like marriage building things. And then I think I asked him something along the lines of like, okay, ChatGPT, what could I do to make this weekend really special for my husband? So it was like a kind of a 3-part thing. Um, and I kind of just took what he said and took what I liked, got rid of what I didn't, and tweaked the schedule a little bit, decided where I was going to add things in, and I just literally took lined paper, wrote out at the top of each page like the day. So there was probably like, I think it was like a 5-day weekend for us or something. So I got to write out 5 days on 5 pieces of paper, and each day I just like broke down my morning and afternoon, like the different sections of my day, and put in like not necessarily at a specific time point, but just like a general time of day when I was gonna structure things in, how we were gonna do things. And it was really sweet. I mean, like, it was little stuff, but, and we didn't even end up doing it all, because my husband really does not like it when I structure our days, but he did really like some of the things that we tried and the different ideas that ChatGPT gave me. And so some of it was really good. And so I really encourage you guys to give that a try yourselves, because you never know. It might just be the little bit of creativity that you need to just get the ball rolling, you know? 'Cause sometimes we get so stuck in our heads, we forget that life doesn't have to be so mundane, and there's so many good ideas out there. And so I'm not going to tell you all the ideas that ChatGPT gave me, although I might make another freebie that is all about cute things that you can do for your spouse. So if you guys want that, come to the Facebook group and tell me. But one of the things I did do is create I Love You Because jar, and I've always seen these and wanted to do it. And it's like, you know, you write all the little reasons you love them on pieces of paper and fold them up and put them in a jar. And so I've always wanted to do it, but I get so stuck on overarching general things. Like my brain wants to group everything together. And so something I've been learning as we've been going through this gratitude challenge, we're still doing that, by the way. 30 days of gratitude is not over yet, and so I'll keep you tuned to see who wins. But I always thought to myself, I wouldn't have enough things to write down because I group things together. And so I was like, I'm gonna have like 10 pieces of paper in there. And that's just a number I pull off the top of my head. I didn't actually figure it out. But so I was like, I pretty much asked ChatGPT what kind of things could I write? And he started like, I asked him to give me 50 different ideas. And he started listing off things, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I realized that was way overcomplicating it. There's so many reasons I love my husband, but because I was trying to group them all together, it seemed like not that much. But when you actually break them down to the specifics and you just let yourself say something really small and specific, I mean, it added up to be a lot. I have a whole jar of reasons why I love my husband sitting on the floor next to me right now, because I get stuck in my head, and I'm sure you guys do too. So ChatGPT is a great tool just to get unstuck and not to necessarily take what he says and run with it, but you know, kind of tweak it to make it your own. It's just a jumping off point, and it's a great place to start. So I highly encourage you guys to try that, and feel free to steal my ideas if you liked them. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for coming to this episode, and see you later. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got so much value out of it. And if you loved this episode, could you do me a quick favor and click 5 stars and leave me a review? It would do wonders for spreading the podcast out to other people who need it, and it only takes a few seconds. If you have an additional few seconds, why don't you go ahead and screenshot the episode and share it to your stories so we can spread the message and get more families healed. Thank you, and until next time, I will be praying for you, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.